Good morning. I'd like to call the October 5th, 2021 bid board meeting to order. We have an acknowledgement of a quorum. And first item is approval of minutes of the September 7th, 2021 meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 1 is the introduction of our new President and CEO of the West Bend Chamber. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning, Mike. You want me to go right here? Or?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's perfect.
Great. Good morning, everyone. I'm Tony Gumina. I'm the new president and CEO of the West Bend Area Chamber of Commerce. I've been in this position for a little over 3 months now, and it has been wonderful. So thank you. I've had the pleasure of meeting some of you already. For those of you that haven't, I look forward to meeting you in the future. Today, I'm really here just to put a face with the name. To start off with, give you a couple updates on what the Chamber has going on, and would really love to be able to come back in the first quarter of next year to sort of report out on some of the things that we've got going on this upcoming quarter. To begin with, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. As I said, I've been with the West Bend Chamber for a little over 3 months now. Prior to coming to West Bend, I was with the Menominee Falls Chamber of Commerce for 14 years. Started there in 2007 as the associate director and became executive director in 2011. Through that time, a really great experience. I don't know that I've ever met anyone in my time, 14 going on 15 years of the chamber world, that anyone ever said, I really wanted to, when I was growing up, I wanted to work for a Chamber of Commerce. I've yet to meet that person. We all come to the chamber world, if I may, in a lot of different ways. I came to the chamber world because I was a business owner in the Menominee Falls community. Was a small business owner for a couple of years, and my family at the time, we decided that as a small business owner, it's nice to have another income. The chamber at the time, we were heavily involved in the chamber, and I decided to dust off my resume and apply and started my career in the chamber world, and it's been fantastic. During my time with the Menominee Falls Chamber, got to really get that chamber up and running as a business, and I would say some of the highlights really fell into this last year, going through COVID and helping lead the chamber to provide information to all of the businesses in the community. And ultimately, as the way chambers are operating these days, starting to evolve, was able to help spearhead the merger of the Menominee Falls Chamber and the Sussex Chamber, which occurred. The official announcement happened 2 weeks after I left, but it was really great to know that they were in a good place, and I was very excited to start my journey here in West Bend. I moved to the West Bend area in October of 2019. My husband and I just absolutely fell in love with it, and when I had the opportunity to see that, when I found out that Craig Farrell was retiring, I had always heard great things about the West Bend Chamber, and so I decided to explore that opportunity, and I'm really happy that it worked out. A couple things that we have going on with the Chamber, just from an event standpoint. We do have our annual awards dinner coming up on October 26th, and we are currently taking reservations for that. It's going to be at the Prairie Center. And our guest speaker this year is John McHugh with the Quick Trip organization. He is their Director of Corporate Communications, Leadership Development, and Training. If you haven't heard John McHugh speak before, he is a great speaker. He'll have you laughing, he'll have you crying. I know he did for me the last time I saw him a few years back. And then in March, we're going to be hosting our expo at the Washington County Fair grounds. And this year it is going to be a home, hobbies, and wellness show. That is going to be March 11th through March 13th. So we're starting to develop that, feeling that there's a strong importance on wellness and hobbies and just getting people to interact with the businesses in the community. So be on the lookout for information coming up on that. And then finally, as I said, I'd love to come back to visit with you the first quarter of next year. Big focus for the chamber coming in new is to really focus on what is our vision and our mission for the chamber as the chamber comes out of 2020, and we're halfway through, or better than halfway through 2021, but with new leadership. So we're going into this fourth quarter to do strategic planning to specifically focus on the mission, the vision, the culture of the chamber, and to hopefully come away from that session with 3 to 5 strategic goals for the next couple of years. So that's really it, and I would like to be able to share that with you in the beginning of next year. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but that's all I have for you today.
Thanks. I'd say welcome to the community, but you've been here a while, so.
Yeah, no.
Welcome to the
Thank you.
business community. How's that?
Thank you, I appreciate it.
And I will say, we had a meeting, my sister and I had a meeting with her, and it was a great conversation. So I'm really excited for where the chamber's headed. So thanks for coming on board.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Next item is the financial report.
Great. I have the financial report here. Not a lot of change from last month, really. We're kind of getting into the end of the year and anticipate about a little over $10,000 in install costs for David J. Frank to still come through after we look at that line item coming up here. And then we have the encumbrance for the Steiner Electric for the work that they've been doing. They're sort of on hold at the moment. With some of the construction going on downtown. We talked about that last month. It's still ongoing. It's potentially planned to be done today. So I'll have an update for that later as well. But otherwise, not much in terms of change. I don't anticipate a lot of other costs outside of holiday decorations, electricity, and finishing up the lights and decorations moving forward for the rest of the year.
Any questions? I need a motion and
Motion to approve the expense report, or the budget. Financial report.
Second.
There you go. I was looking for it.
we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 3, bid business owner survey. So this is phase 2 of the survey that we decided to do. The survey was attached to your packet. It's pretty much the same. Jess, do you want to talk about how they came up with what we came up with? Or what they came up with, I should say?
Sure. So the business owner survey is really similar in terms of questions compared to the property owner survey, and that's so that we can compare some of the answers. There are some differences, and we can walk through it, especially toward the end. The last meeting you indicated wanting to know a little bit more about what business owners know about the bid or their perception of it, or at least the bid board maybe, or what it is that the bid does. So we kind of try to get at that toward the end, but otherwise are keeping most of the questions similar so that you can get a sense of the differences between business and property owners' responses to each. So the first several are the same as the property owner questions. And we slightly adjusted the question here on commercial property owners paying the assessment, and just to slightly rephrase, since the business owners themselves don't necessarily pay them unless they own a property. So would they be supportive of the commercial property owners paying an additional $1? These questions are still the same as the previous survey. The one about events closing down downtown streets is just slightly edited as well. But really getting down here farther, 2 more open-ended responses is where the most change occurred. So this survey is slightly longer than the other one to get these open-ended responses that, we'll have a little bit more in terms of reporting to kind of sift through and edit, but I think it'll be good to, well, not edit, but to review them individually. So this will ask, from your perspective, what does the downtown bid do? What is the single most important item or initiative to be addressed by the downtown bid? How can the downtown bid support businesses? And then optional comments were also part of the previous survey.
Any questions?
Yeah, Mike.
Yep.
Couple of things, Jess. On the open-ended responses, I'm sure you'll catch it, but the first question, from your perspective, should be perspective.
No, yes, it should. Thanks.
And the question, on the commercial property owners paying the $3 assessment per thousand, would you support them paying more? Do we really, is that really an appropriate question for business owners? I think asking them if they want those kinds of improvements, knowing they would affect their rent, or potentially affect their rent.
I would agree and support that. I thought the same thing last night when I was looking
Yeah.
at this. I don't know how it's relevant from the business owner standpoint.
Great. We can get rid of it. That's great.
Yeah, I would say the same thing.
Other than that, I think it's great. Thanks for all the work, Jess. That's
Thank
it,
you.
Mike.
So do we want to remove that question?
Makes sense.
Everybody in favor of that?
Yeah.
Okay. Do we need a motion to approve this? I guess we do, don't we?
We
Motion
approve
to
with
approve it
changes.
with the changes as discussed.
Second.
We have a motion to approve in a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next item. Actually, then you're going to send this out the same way, but we have the emails of businesses and then do the cards as well?
Yep, so we have, exactly, we have emails, we'll send that out, we'll send postcards to all the addresses as well. So this one, we actually have a lot more contact information email-wise, the property assessments, we don't necessarily have emails, so we just did a mailing before, so I anticipate perhaps more engagement on this survey.
Do you know the head count versus building owners? How many? And for business owners?
Business owners,
Yeah, versus the building owners.
I don't.
Okay.
Jess, if you mentioned it before, I just don't remember. Do you, what was the percentage of responses that we got back from building owners?
Sure, it was just over 30%.
Which is
It was
good.
really good.
Yep, yeah, it's great.
Yeah. And I guess I would also say is if you don't get a survey, please let Jess know. On the business one, there's record that I was sent them, but I never received them. Never received a postcard, so,
You did.
yeah, I never got one. I did the second round. We did a second mailing, and I did receive that one, but I never received the first one. So if you hear people who didn't get it, just let her know so we can get them the information so they can do the registration. Okay, next item is the Christmas decorations estimate. Do you want me to talk about the tree first?
Sure.
Okay, so we had looked at doing some additional things this year. Unfortunately, due to COVID, we had a lot of problems in getting really firm bids, and then by the time we got the bids, there wasn't enough time to do the fundraising that was needed. So it's status quo as far as the look and feel, but since we're ahead of schedule now for next year, we'll be able to work on more for next season. As you know, last year there was a problem with the tree not staying lit all the time. There was a meeting last week between, it was myself, the city, and electricians were there, Doug Newman was there, and then representatives from David J. Frank. And it was determined, and I will say up front right away, David J. Frank has been phenomenal to work with, but it was determined that even though the tree was represented to David J. Frank as an outdoor tree, hence represented to us as an outdoor tree, it's really an indoor tree. So the electrical portion of the branches was all outdoor rated lighting, but the interior, which was connecting all of that, was designed for interior. So David J. Frank, after a lot of conversation and back and forth, and they're definitely not ducking away from it, they want to make sure it gets taken care of. They're going to rewire the whole interior of the tree so that it's all up to code and outdoor rated material, so we shouldn't have the problem. There is also conversation of there's a pipe coming out of the electrical panel to the approximate location of the tree of potentially doing a dedicated circuit or circuits for the tree. I don't know if that's going to be needed at this point, but there was some conversation, and I had to leave a little bit early, so I don't know what they finally came up with. So we should probably talk to Doug or Josh and to see what was decided on that. But so the issues with the tree staying lighted should be taken care of, and at least now we've gotten to the bottom of the problem and figured it out, and we'll get it taken care of. The good news is it wasn't just our tree. Turned out the Bucks have the exact same problem, so they're doing the same thing to theirs. So,
And they won a championship, so
yeah. So,
might bode well.
like I said, they've been fabulous to work with and have not ducked anything. It's all been on them, and they're taking care of it. So, the other thing that they mentioned, since you're talking about install, is to make sure we wrap instead of scrunch everything up on the poles. So that's my report. Now you can do the rest. Unless
Great.
anybody has questions about that, but it's pretty straightforward.
Mike, the cost in the, or under artificial Christmas tree, that includes making these fixes?
There's no cost for us to make the fix. They're covering all the costs.
Okay,
That's the cost to install the tree.
all right.
Mike, I might be getting ahead of ourselves here, but were there other bids besides David J. Frank?
To do the install? No, because that was all kind of, we just stayed with them through this whole process. Not saying down the road we can't look at that, but since they did all the original install, we just kind of have stayed with them. And also because if we pulled, I think we would have had trouble getting the tree fixed. So,
Plus they store it?
what's that?
They also store it?
No, the city stores it.
Oh, okay. Everything?
I know there was an issue with the bows staying on, like the light posts in us. Is there a better solution to that this year at all?
Yep, we're working with them on the bows and figuring out, the best way to keep them on, and probably going to get some more as well. We lost quite a few last year.
And when they did fall off, if we were to see them or other people, where are you supposed to take them?
Most
just
people
call
just
you?
gave me a call. Yep, we either put them back up or just store them, depending on kind of the time frame.
A lot of them ended up on my desk. Which is fine.
So you want to modify this to, or take them to Mike's desk?
No, not necessarily.
We can put a note in there. So what you have before you are actually two estimates. I had them break it apart because one is for 2021's budget. The other will come out of 2022 for the removal. So 2021 includes only installation costs. We aren't buying anything new this year. So these are quite similar to last year's costs for install. They did go up maybe 10% across the board. And it's coming in just over $10,000. We also talked with David J. Frank after we sort of recapped last year. Mike and I met with them to talk through the lit trees that are sort of wrapped with lights, and those will stay up for 2 years. And we can keep them on or off. But they say they typically do that with their clients, is put them up and leave them for a while. Some choose to keep them up throughout the year.
We had no idea they go in with shears and just cut all the wires out. So when they were taking them out of the front of my building, I'm like, what are you doing? And they're like, oh, we're taking them out. And I'm like, if I would have known you were going to cut them all out, I would have just left them in.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, yeah, most people leave them in for 2 years.
Nice.
So we will plan to do that as well, so that will reduce that cost, so that it's every other year.
So just talking timeline for 2021 installation, they plan to begin the week of November 1st and be finished by November 4th for the tree lighting ceremony. All right, so then moving on to removal. The removal costs are lower than years past, which is great. We took out the sleigh. It was like $1,100, and last year we ended up removing it ourselves in a pretty short period of time, about 10 minutes. So thought we could do that ourselves again. We also try to remove it in advance of the winter warm-up event because they need to use that space in Old Settlers Park. So that was a good cost savings. So we're looking at about $5,000 in expenses for David J. Frank to remove the tree and all the other decorations in January.
Any questions?
Motion to approve the contracts for installation and do we approve the removal now? Yeah.
I would think so, yes.
Motion to approve both contracts.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 5, Facade Grant Committee. In the last meeting, we talked about we established a budget, which is still to be approved by the council, but in interest of getting this moving, we would like to create a Facade Grant Committee who will be part of the group that will grant the grants. And I think also review the past grant committee guidelines to see if they really fit for what we have right now currently, and then start figuring out the application process and start giving out the money for 2022. So my question, obviously some people from this group should be on there, but I'm wondering if anybody can identify anybody from outside of the bid?
Would it be helpful to know who was on it in the past?
Yeah, that would, I know Peggy was, she's the only one I know of.
So Peggy, Chris Schmidt, Jeff Slace, Lori Winters from the museum, Kevin Schultz, Jim Reinke is our city planner, and then Adam Gitter, who's the former me.
So I guess, do you want to replace Adam, and do you want to stay involved?
Yeah, I would love to.
Yes.
Okay. A couple of those people I know, others I don't, so not saying we have to stay with that group. I guess my feeling is a process should be is that, we put together the group, and then that group can put together the process and then bring it back to us for approval and then let it go. So maybe we do a call for people who want to get involved, and then maybe contact some of those people. I don't know how we want to do that.
Sure.
Anybody else have an interest in being a part of that group? I know, Ken, you have a ton of time. You want to, Mark?
I'd be involved if they need it.
That was kind of a joke.
Looking for applications,
Okay. Any other questions on the facade grant? I think we kind of talked about it the last meeting.
Yeah, I'll take a look at the previous program manual, make some updates and adjustments, and we can do a call, and then next meeting to discuss who kind of came through on that.
Okay. All right. Roofline light update.
Right. Well, like I mentioned earlier, there's not a whole lot to update. So we have been working. I've been in communication with Steiner Electric and the owner of the building to the north of yours, Beth Rose, and who's under construction right now. And Steiner's kind of just waiting to reconnect that piece of demo strip lighting until that's done. And so it sounds like possibly today it will be finished. So if not today, I'm sure soon enough, where we'll be able to take a peek before the next meeting and get that finished.
Yeah, actually, I talked to the contractor, and he didn't really know what he was disconnecting. He goes, "We're not electricians. We just kind of laid it all on the roof, but it fell apart." Okay. So maybe once it's back together, I can watch too, and once it's back together, we can send an email to everybody so they can see it. Because a lot of us never did get to see the demo strip, so we'll send an email out once we know it's back working. Okay, other items, we're looking for volunteers to install the garland on November 1st.
It's a Monday at 8 a.m. meeting at Old Settlers Park. So please let me know if you plan to attend.
And then also the tree lighting ceremony on Thursday, November 4th. It would be great if you can attend. It's usually only about a half hour. But it's always been kind of fun, and a lot of people show up. Are we going to try to get River City again to do music?
I think so. We can. Unless somebody else has a different recommendation. But
Quick question, isn't that a lot earlier than we've done it in the past?
The same Thursday the last 2 years.
Okay, it just seems earlier.
most of the downtown shops have their holiday open houses that week, starting that week, so it's a great sort of kickoff to
And
that.
it originally tied in with MOA, with their
Bloomin' Holidays.
Blooming Holidays event, because that's the kickoff of that as well, so we just started it. We get a little bit of backlash, but also a lot of people love having it up, and, you know, we spend a lot of money for it, so you might as well enjoy it more than 20 days. So,
It is a lot of money, but too, I can't believe just walking by or on the weekends, you see like whole families down there taking pictures in front of the tree and everything. It's a beautiful thing. Like, this is one thing that I think the bid should be really proud of, because you see so many people taking advantage of it. So it's awesome. And I just hope it doesn't snow. It was like 2 years ago when it was so cold.
oh, it was
But
good. Snow
so
would be great.
cold.
Cold,
I
oh my
know.
God, that first year I froze.
Oh, it was so cold.
Can we get like 80 in snow?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
At this point, it'll be the
Last
60s.
year was nice. The snow on last year's
Yeah.
temperatures would have been really good. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, and you know, it brings the community together. And you're right, there are a ton of people there, and I'm looking forward to not having to run every day to turn the tree back on and make sure it's lighted. So, kind of tied to that is just want to remind people the West Bend Christmas Parade will be the Sunday after Thanksgiving, and they can go to the Christmas Parade website to sign up. And just kind of a little trivia, it is the longest continuously running Christmas parade in the state of Wisconsin. So, and
How many years?
69. So,
So it started when you were born.
what's that? Before you were born or when you were born? Oh, yeah, it was way before I was born, but I do have great memories of it. Santa Claus used to visit our store every year. It was great. So, with that, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Or I won't make the motion, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, everybody.